Hi, everyone, and welcome to Resource and Night School. Really excited for you all to join. Want to also express, um, oh, just want to say I'm really excited for you all to join us. The objectives here for this session, this is our second knowledge session, as y'all know. And this session, we're going to be hearing from Jeri Rayon from Black Donor Project. But this session is going to focus on the critical role of relationship building and collective solution making and resource organizing with insights from Jeri Rayon of the Black Donors Project. Participants would explore effective strategies for creating meaningful connections with donors, including inner workings of donor engagement. Through interactive discussion, Jerry would share practical approaches to cultivating trust and navigating nuances of communication and resourcing efforts while honoring your Black heritage and imagination. Um, the learning space guidelines, I want everyone to know, is we really want everyone to know that kids, partners, friends are all welcome to join in this experience. It doesn't need to be purely, you here. Community is welcome to participate in this learning. Multitasking is fine. We encourage participation throughout the discussion, throughout the practice activities. No question is a dumb question. And this is a non-judgmental learning space. And so really encourage everyone to participate and engage how they see fit. And I'm gonna pass it to Sierra, who will introduce our speaker for today.
Thanks, James. I'm really excited to be with all of you all. And thanks so much for staying late and joining us. I have the privilege of reading this wonderful bio for Jeri Rayon. She's a cultural advocate and the founder of the Black Donors Project, committed to advancing equity in arts and philanthropy through advocacy, storytelling, and systematic reform. Jeri's work centers on cultural maintenance and resilience within Black philanthropy, emphasizing the transformative power of art as a tool for social change and community-driven solutions. A lifelong learner, Jeri proudly considers herself a student of the legendary Joan Myers Brown and has an extensive background in arts administration. She has served as the executive director for the Rennie Harris Pure Movement and held key leadership roles with esteemed organizations including Complexions Contemporary Ballet, the La Lubavitch. Ooh, guys, I'm telling you, this medicine dance company and Jose Limon Dance Foundation. I know that one. Her career reflects a dedication to elevating the arts as a means of cultural preservation and equity. Thank you so much, Jeri, for bringing your community, and Ujima community. Please, 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 let's welcome Jeri. And we're really excited for the talk.
I'm super. Am I on mute here?
We can hear you.
Oh gosh, it looks like I'm on mute. There we go. I'm just really happy to be here. Thank you, Sierra, for the beautiful introduction and for the invitation to be here. And yeah, let's get started and talk about really how we're going to dream through these next couple of years and utilize our intergenerational knowledge to navigate this space. So let's do this. I'm excited.
Can folks see my screen?
I can't.
No?
No, not
Yes.
yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, let me try and get it up for Jeri,
Hi, Roseanne.
because that's kind of important. Hi, friend.
Hi, friends. Let's drop my pen. How's everybody doing tonight? Well, good, good.
Okay,
Doing good. Doing good.
Excellent. I'm glad to be here. Hey, Roseanne. Hi, Natasha.
Jeri, if you're on the phone, you might have
Yeah,
to like swipe right or left to see the screen
I
share.
see it now. It's coming up. It's trying to anyway. And yeah, my phone is all janky. But either way, we can navigate through this. I am not new to this.
Awesome. Okay.
I just wanted, hi, Natasha. I just wanted to say thank you very much for inviting me to be here. And I took the opportunity to look at the program that you guys have designed, and what we're talking about here kind of leans into us as a community, and also us as forecasters, and us as, kind of figuring out how to do things differently as we move through the next couple of years. So Sierra, can I get the next slide, please?
Nice.
Thank you. And that's just a short video from YouTube. So if you can push play and we can check that out for a moment.
Dear Black people, look at you. Look. Do you see who you are? You're a miracle. You are love wrapped in skin. You are beautiful. Dear Black people, you've moved mountains. You've moved minds. You've made joy in rich supply. Dear Black people, you are the salt of the earth. You have love for yourself and your neighbor. Dear Black people, no worry. You have people. Your people have people. Wherever you stand is holy ground. Dear Black people, you will stretch up to the sky. You will tell a triumphant story. You will hold it in your hands. Dear Black people, your freedom means the freedom of the world.
Mm.
You Black people, we love you. Love Black people.
Thank you, Sierra.
Of course.
That's from Movement for Black Lives. It's such a moving visual of how we show up in this space. And as we move through this time, I think that collective imagery means something. And as we're talking about networking, we're also talking about really understanding the community that we're a part of, and that growing that language, that muscle, in terms of how do we support each other, because we've seen how people systems are intentionally blocking us from our pathway. And so one of the reasons I started this was because I am a regular person. I have information that could be beneficial to my community. So therefore, I wanted, like I said, I wanted to lean into my learning edges. I wanted to have conversation with my community. I wanted to have conversation with other communities to understand, how do you interconnect with what we do? I wanted to understand, in our community, how do we give? Why do we give? When do we give? In what way do we want to give? And what motivates us to give? And as I started to learn this, I felt like I was seeing things, I was seeing things, like reading the reports that, like, I'm going to give you a number of reports that you can read and go over, but like, what does it mean to be Black led? Or I'm sorry, I'm blanking right now. There's another one about reparations. There's another one about giving back, but all of these had these all intertwining ways in which we could show up now in this moment. And then also talking to my mother and my elders in my life, really understanding what they brought to the table and the lessons that we were learning from them and how that network helped us get to where we are. And then I'm from the hip hop generation, but I didn't really understand hip hop until I started working for Rennie Harris Pure Movement, which is a hip hop dance company out of Philadelphia. And really understanding that the network in philanthropic giving, the way we've been designed, the way we tap in with kind of a traditional philanthropic framework doesn't necessarily resonate with our community. And I started to learn that through working with RHPM. And I wanted to kind of build that out. But as I wanted to build that out, working with other organizations like predominantly white organizations, they weren't necessarily interested in tapping into smaller dollars or Black communities or any marginalized community. But I knew that there was something there. So what you're looking at here is looking at what our networks are worth. Okay, so as you look at the Asian population, the white population, the Hispanic population, Native American, and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander, I'm sure there are certain things that stand out to you. What stood out to me was looking at how the Black community is framed. A lot of this information wasn't necessarily available to us, but as we move through this evolution, there are things that are starting to become available to us so that we can look at ourselves with a clearer picture. Being able to take a snapshot and understanding that we bring $11 billion to the philanthropic framework, that we bring our retail spending power is 1.6 trillion. Even though our median income is $48,000 per individual. While that may not be everyone's household, that's the median. So that means that we are intentionally giving, we are intentionally tapping in and giving our network now. We're networking out. What does it look like if we network in? And I think that messaging is starting to come very clear. And I'm very excited because while some people are looking at this as a challenge, or this time as a challenge with regard to growing your network or finding individual donors or finding institutional donors, I feel like it's more like an opportunity. So if we can go to the next slide. Thank you, Sierra.
Mm-hmm.
If you can drop in the chat, and Sierra, I can't see this chat if there's anything that kind of stands out.
Yeah,
Is there
absolutely.
anything that stands out for you with regard to those numbers? Because it did for me when I first started doing my research. Or if anybody wants to come off mic and kind of say what those numbers, or if you were familiar with those numbers, or what does that number or those numbers look like with regard to your thinking about building out your network?
I'll put the numbers back on the screen too so folks can see.
No problem. Any thoughts?
Carly said it's wild, the Black spending number compared to the philanthropy. Agreed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But even at the fact that we're $48,000 our median income, our ability to give at $11 billion is extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
The availability to be able to, our spending dollars is 1.6 trillion. Just imagine if even a percentage, like say, let's 20% of us decided to just turn inside and just buy Black and give Black, how we can change the trajectory of our organizations and our community. So any other thoughts come up with you with regard to these numbers? Again, is anybody else familiar with these numbers? Okay, we can move on. If we can go past that last one and go to the next one, that'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank. Okay, I don't think you guys can see that, but what that did for me when I got those numbers, and I was looking at how do we network, how do we have conversations to kind of call people in and be a part of what we're trying to do, and really kind of talk to our donors. It's a way in which the Black community engages in Black philanthropic giving that doesn't get recognized in the white community or predominantly white spaces. So this is a breakdown in looking at the philanthropic dollars as well as what we can possibly do in this space, with regards to our donors, and looking at micro philanthropy and looking at possible other ways in which we can bring in philanthropic donors. And as I looked at your profile, and other organizations, I feel like we're starting to lean into that. Like, we're not necessarily falling into the traditional framework. We're moving past it because we've always engaged since the first time that we hit the shores of mutual aid and being able to support one another. But it looks different. We use different language. So I think that now, as we evolve and we're seeing people or systems trying to take away what we've built, I think that this is a time in which we are looking at really deconstructing what we've been participating in by default, and really kind of looking at how our lived experiences align with how we want to move forward. And as we look at our lived experiences and how that alignment moves forward, it's really important that we dream at this moment, right? Because we've never had an opportunity, or even there is not spaces like this where people can come together and have these conversations. It wasn't always safe for us to do so. So now, because we're being threatened, there is a threat out there, it almost opens up our aperture a little bit for us to look at how we don't have to engage in the default kind of framework that we've been doing. And it's beautiful to watch, and especially with regard to our young people. And earlier I said, with regard to, I'm talking to an intergenerational component with regard to, I keep saying that for whatever reason, but philanthropic giving right now, I think that being able to have that conversation with the generation, the civil rights generation, and to see how that connects to what we're doing now, I think is really going to help us propel forward, and also be able to infuse technological giving within that framework as well. Sierra, if you can go to the next slide.
Absolutely. Natasha also reflected that she was surprised by our retail spending power. It's a lot higher than she expected, but not shocked by the philanthropy numbers.
What was it about the philanthropy numbers?
She wasn't shocked by that, but the retail spending was a lot higher than she expected.
Yeah. I was shocked by the philanthropy numbers, and excited about it, because that means that we can tap in differently. So when we're conditioning our win, because, hey, Kendrick said it, we deserve it all, right? We've done this, we've done the work, we know how to tap in, but for some reason, we're still tapping in without really looking at the Black community, and the Black community is really what needs help now. So when I'm talking to my allies and they're asking how can they help, you can help amplify Black work, Black community, Black artists, Black organizations, and give to those organizations. We don't necessarily have to, nor is it beneficial for us to engage in the default philanthropic framework, because we don't have access like that. We have access to our community, and our community has been showing up from day one. We have figured out how to show up for each other through mutual aid society, through giving circles, through small individual donors. So I feel like as we move forward, that could be our new framework. And also looking at and building out your individual donor base in this time is really important. And people are always asking, how do I find your individual donors? Your individual donors are already around you. Those are the people who are supporting you now, whether it's through time, talent, or treasure. They're showing up. It's your audiences. It's your people people on Facebook, it's your people on LinkedIn, but also providing that invitation in a way in which they can engage that feels comfortable for them and feels comfortable for us in our body. Because again, we're not going to engage in the same way as predominantly white institutions, and that's okay. But that means that we have to engage in a more intimate level and really listen to our community and have a participatory framework to help us navigate, and also to help us change and move and navigate in real time. The next one, please, Sierra. Thank you. Okay, so in saying what I'm saying, and I don't want to take up a lot of time because I do want to get in conversation with all of you. In doing my research and working with our community, we started off with, in last year, we started off with a series called Conversations in Black. In Conversations in Black, we would do two things. We would either do surveys and focus groups and polls to figure out, like take a temperature check to figure out where we were at the moment. And then have these conversations about like some of the primary topics that were going on in Black-led organizations or with Black-led artists or with Black-led philanthropic giving. And so with those topics, we also integrated a lot of the research papers that I mentioned early or failed to mention early with regard to the actual titles, but I will get that to you. But those were really helpful in understanding not only where we are right now, but what got us here. And one of the reasons why I'm not spending a lot of time in talking about the history of the trajectory and where we got here is because we also need to forecast what our future looks like. So with forecasting with what our future looks like, I really tried to deconstruct and not do anything that was centered in white supremacist culture. Moving forward with regard to trying to make sure that we meet the moment and we meet the needs of Black-led organizations, because if we don't, we may find ourselves, on the outside of being able to course correct. And we've gotten to this far. And like I said, there's so many opportunities that are opening up right now that this almost seems like a gift for us to really be able to see who is an ally and who is not, who is working on behalf of our communities and who is not. I think that information is super important as we move forward. Now, in kind of designing our framework, we took all the information from our Conversations in Black and kind of looked at how we are struggling in the areas in which we're struggling. And the areas in which we're struggling is to be able to get dollars to our organizational structures. And if you read Young Blacks Give Back, that report says that Black-led organizations run between $30,000 and $500,000. So if you take the numbers of us being able to spend $11 billion in philanthropy and $1.6 million in retail, we start to wonder, how is it that we are not able to be self-sustaining? And we all understand why, and maybe that's not a conversation for right now, but the conversation is right now is that the pathway is clear for us to really support one another. And this can be done. We really do have us if we really look at the numbers. So in working out what we're trying to do moving forward, we're really trying to do stuff differently. And also look at what our ancestors, the people that came before us, what did they do? What can we recreate what they did? And how can we kind of implement the vision of our young people in the future? Because our young people are really, like, what I'm doing right now is all based on what we did. I want to be in conversations in spaces like this so we can forecast what we can do in the future. So for us at the Black Donors Project, what we're doing is we're just trying to not do what we've been doing before. We have one program called Black Ties. So we fundraise in tandem with other organizations. And while we haven't done it like formally and said, yeah, we're going to do it with Philadelphia or Rennie Harris Pure Movement, we're encouraging people to not only support the Black Donors Project at $5 a month, which is $60 a year, but also to look at other organizations in which they can assist. So we're asking people to put aside $25 a month, pick the Black Donors Project, of course, and 4 other organizations in which you can tap in and you can give $5 a month. This is going to be very, very important in helping to sustain organizations that has the budgets between $30,000 and $500,000. That would help lessen that gap. So if we were all able to fundraise for one another, because we're already sharing donors, so why not widen our reach? But it's an unpopular opinion because people feel as though they should hold their donors close to their chest. But the reality is that we're already sharing donors, and that's not a community. So we really have to look at how can we do this differently? How can we all tap in and being able to support one another through black ties, small donations. These small donations create change. So the other thing that we have is Black Prompts, which is also from our Conversations in Black. We realize that a lot of us are up against a lot of real life scenarios, in which we don't have answers to, nor do we have the resource in our, a lot of times in our jobs to be able to aggregate those answers, aggregate those solutions. So Black Prompts is also an extension of, as a Black-led organization, and we're dealing with some of the elements of Project 2025, like the Fearless Fund and what they just went up against. What does that mean for us? And if we're under threat, how do we prepare? We don't have resources, but we do. We are each other's resources. So Black Prompts is a scenario planning by monthly. Yeah, we're doing it bi-monthly. And basically every other month, we have a different scenario that is based off of a lived experience of Black nonprofit philanthropic organizations, or Black nonprofits or Black artists. And we have real conversations with regard to whatever the scenario is for that day. Then we take that information and we reflect it up against Chat GPT or any other solutions generating AI program, because a lot of our solutions now are being pulled from AI and technological backgrounds. Just like they're doing in healthcare, I can forecast and see how they're going to do it in philanthropy. So how do we get in front of it? Not only how we get in front of how AI is going to affect Black-led organizations, but how do we get in front of how do we give or how do we support Black-led organizations that are going to deal with AI? I think I just said that and I said it differently. Because if you look at, and I don't want to get too deeply, but if you look how the applications are going, our information isn't aggregated. So we would be left out in that way too. But if we have the solutions and we can kind of figure out how far the gap is between our community source solutions and AI, hopefully we can figure out how to mitigate the harm that may come from data that is not reflective of our community. And also to Black creators or Black engineers, how can we tap in and make something that is our own, that if we continue to move forward with this Project 2025, how can we save ourselves? Because I can kind of see a lot of the things a lot of the advances that we've made forward are already being retracted. So I wouldn't put it past those creators or those people who created Project 2025 to go deeper and really erase our footprint, even the small footprint, the digital footprint that we have in machine learning. And the last thing that we're going to do is a concept called the We All Benefit Ball. And it's kind of pulling from our ancestors' collective giving, but it's also pulling from the old school telethon. You know what I mean? So we're using technology to kind of tap into, again, a collective giving framework that would allow us to not only fundraise and kind of move away from this. When you have galas, a lot of times with a lot of predominantly white institutions, they harness the funding that's coming in, and it doesn't necessarily go into our communities. Even though there might be fundraising on behalf of our communities, it's not a part of our community, and we're still left out of the conversation. We're not at the table. We don't have any kind of access to these resources, and we don't have any relationships to these donors. So the We All Benefit Ball is another way for us to have a collecting fundraising pathway, and for us to call in or invite in not just small donors, medium donors, and large donors, because we're all in this together. Sierra, can you go to the next slide, please? So I wanted to say all of that, and I know it was a lot, but to say that this is the moment that we deconstruct everything that we know. We cannot go back to participating in a default manner, the way we have been with philanthropic giving and our donors. Now it's time to really get to know your pipeline, get to know who your donors are, get to know you're cultivating in a different kind of, utilize a different kind of strategy. What strategy is that? I don't know. We're figuring that out as we move along, because it doesn't look like what we did yesterday. What tomorrow looks like is whatever you're designing now. So really being able to tap into and dream of something different, to really kind of switch from what we've been doing to what we hope and what we foresee for our future, is really about forecasting. And that's something that we've gotten from our ancestors. We had to forecast in order to remain safe. So I'm hoping, Sierra, you can go to the next slide. I'm hoping that we continue to move forward and have these conversations and make these spaces and network with our communities, because our communities will tell us, they will also stand up for you in spaces where you can't be, and serve as ambassadors, and really help us grow not only our funding, but our cohesiveness within our communities. So basically, I really am hoping that we can all collectively dream of something different. I would love to hear how you guys, thank you for viewing. Thank you, Sierra. I would love to hear kind of the new strategies in which organizations are looking at right now with regard to how they're pivoting to make sure that you're sustaining your donor base for the next couple of years, or if we can talk about some of the strategies that we're doing right now.
Yeah. Charlie also asked a great question in the chat too that you can answer and we can maybe talk about.
Sure.
Is the hope to make the virtual gala an in-person event at some point, or bring on an in-person addition to the virtual later on?
Yes. It started off being an in-person and trying to build an app that would allow us to do that, but it hasn't gone any further. I'm kind of stuck because I feel like we need to talk about it as a community a little bit more. So the virtual makes sense because it could be housed either on Zoom or YouTube. It can also be different locales, and it can also live on YouTube in perpetuity. So that means that if we're fundraising with 5 organizations, and 5 organizations have their QR code and how you can give, and that sits or it's parked on YouTube for a year or so, it's a way of getting passive income without having to engage or pull from your budget in order to fundraise.
Sort of that asynchronous ability that the virtual space allows us to have.
Absolutely. And we want people to take these ideas and redesign it, but stay in contact with the Black Donors Project, because we want to be able to measure it. We want to be able to archive it and make notes and see how different someone else engages as opposed to another organization. Now, when I speak, you hear a lot of me speaking in draft because this is an experiment. And while I would love to say that I have all the language and I have all of the data, This is something that we are doing together so that we don't fall back into our own default modes, because it's so easy to do. And in working with our community, that way we can articulate to our allies when they're saying, how can we tap in? We know exactly how they can tap in, and we can give them vehicles in which they can do so. So again, all of this is experimental. So again, you hear me talking in draft, but this moment today, right now, I really do believe opens up more than it closes.
I definitely appreciate that, Jeri. And we've all been talking in draft all day. I think the common thread through sort of what we were sharing about what we hope for this resourcing member team space, and what you're sharing is that we don't have a choice but to do this together. And so we really appreciate your presence here. We have about 5 minutes left, and I appreciate folks' active participation in the chat. I'm wondering if anybody has any final thoughts or last questions before we close out.
We have
Before we close,
actually, we have a little more time, Sierra.
Oh.
It was at 8:30, by the way.
Oh, darn. No,
We have a
where's my
little more
mind at? Girl, I'm sick for real, y'all. I'm really trying to get better. But so let's have a conversation then.
Yeah.
Good. So actually, hello.
Mhm.
Oh, I actually did have a comment. Is now still a good time,
Please,
Sierra and
yo,
James?
love.
Okay, yes, I just wanted to say that. Hey, I'll show my face 1 second. Okay, there you go. I just wanted to say that thank you for like breathing life into this new stage of resourcing at Ujima. I remember when James launched the previous rendition of the resourcing team, and now with the resourcing night school continuing, and you all breathing life into it, I feel very excited for it, and I hope that the momentum continues, because what I just saw and witnessed with the presentation, the accompanying media and storytelling, those historical and cultural components, I really feel like people can be more passionate about resourcing as opposed to fundraising, which lives within the sphere of it lives within the sphere of white supremacy. It's just like it's their band-aids, where we are trying to go for cures here.
Yeah.
So I encourage us to keep using this language and that we're learning tonight, and like not to be shy or afraid to seem too radical, because the time for that was honestly never. But the time for that is long past. And I know I've learned a lot, and we'll be looking to learn more. So there's no question, just a compliment and an upliftment of what was just witnessed.
Thank you. Thank you so much. John?
I'd also like to iterate thanks. Now I'm come off camera because I'm a bit under the weather, but I guess what I'm hearing has me thinking about work that we're doing here in Houston and Third Ward, and what it looks like to do hyperlocal fundraising for the work that we're doing. And I still use language, oppressive language, so I'm going to say words like collective impact. But I think one of the things that I'm looking to maybe get a better feel for is how, as social impact organizations that are working hyperlocally in Third World, where you can actually see where your funding dollars are going and the impact they're having on the blocks in which you live. What does it look like for those collective organizations that are doing that fundraising to effectively show that impact? Not in a way that, oh, we want to make sure we didn't misappropriate these dollars, but in a way that says, hey, like we were so responsible. Why don't you double up this time, right? Like and have a greater impact, because we're proving to you that this is different than what you've experienced before. So I'll just check that. I don't expect any answers. That's just what I'm thinking about.
And it's also important to thank you for that. That's an important the framework that you just presented also made me think of, it's really important for us to stay in community and conversation. So when we're talking about impact, we're talking about the impact as an organization. What does it mean to us? What does it mean to those that we serve? Are we meeting the expectation of that community? And our mission where we started? Is it still what's needed in those communities? So those impacts are shifting, right? So as they shift, make sure that I know we use this a lot, but we're cousins, we're family, we're all interconnected. My failure is going to affect you, but your success is also going to affect me. You know what I mean? So this collective impact and really understanding what we do as an individual organization, what we do collectively, but all of what we do as an individual, what we do as individual organizations, and what we do collectively are all going to be a new blueprint for, in my opinion, a new blueprint of an old strategy. And for our young people who are on the call, I really, again, we have been engaging in philanthropic giving in a certain way. And there are times that, yeah, we do go into a default. We need to, I don't know, really figure out some different stuff, have an edible, do whatever you need to do. Like shift your consciousness, because our consciousness is we're going through an evolution right now. Right. And being able to evolve and see things differently and see ourselves in the future. And, one of the things that I always talk about is Afrofuturistic philanthropic giving. I know it's a lot and it sounds crazy, but this is where we really have to get creative about what does our pipeline look like? What does ethical cultivation look like? What do our fundraising events look like? And just to your point, maybe not even using the language of fundraising, because that is not the language of our community. What is it that we need to do? And stop making us feel bad because we're trying to build a bridge between, or trying to decenter ourselves or decenter our gaze on wealth. Because when we center our philanthropic giving on wealth, we leave out so many people that have been the reason why we've gotten where we've gotten or why we do what we do. So I'm really excited about what this moment really presents for us, because it is about, again, shifting that consciousness, looking at, okay, if there are new technological programs or new apps that are coming up, are we feeding that data so that that information is accurate? Are people considering our community or the indigenous community or the Hispanic community when they're doing this? And my thought is probably not, but we can consider each other, and we can work in tandem with each other. And if you go back and you look at those numbers, just think about if the marginalized communities were able to really kind of bring all of that together, how we can move things. But we also have to know that there's always going to be that threat. But we got us. I really do believe that. And being in spaces like this, listening to people like you, hearing some of the designs that these organizations are doing now, just to make sure that we meet the moment. And the more that we talk to one another, the more we know we can expand. So I'm excited for what the future looks like for us. And I'm excited to see what you guys do. So keep me abreast.
100%. There's more great stuff in the chat. Charlie,
Oh,
I think it's a matter of being frank and laying it out for current and soon to be supporters. I think that might have been in response to what John brought into the room as well. Gio, bravely sakes, it's our future for sure. He's not doing the cyberpunk mess. He's not with it. Afrofuturism and the greener world is where it's at.
So what do you think that, like, if we only have 10 minutes, how do you guys want to see the future for our community in this space? Like, what do our networks look like in the future? How do we connect? What is our connective tissue? Any thoughts about what do we have to do now to make sure our organizations or organizations like ours are okay in the future.
Charlie, please go ahead.
Hey, Charlie. Oh,
Hey, you know what? I'll come on video so you can see your supervisor.
hi,
But, but I
wait,
think,
you got to move her over. We don't see her.
sorry guys.
Hello.
This is Queen everyone. Sorry
She's a
to
member of the Black Donors Project. Thank you very much, people.
She's been paying attention. She's been listening very intently. But I think what our connective tissue is actual conversation. And in the society we live in right now, or I'll say specifically America, we're so instant gratification and just everything at the drop of a dime, rather than understanding that cultivation, connection, community, those are things that take time, but they're worth it. And as a collective, we need to shift in understanding that worth rather than just getting the quick buck right now. Whereas I know I can, if I plant the seed right now, I can get 50 times, whether it's in money or dedication or loyalty or in kind, whatever it is that we're really cultivating later on, rather than, oh yay, I got $1,000 from this person one time, but I never saw them again. I never got their name again. They don't answer my emails. They never came back to another event. But yeah, I got $1,000 today.
Right. And then also you don't get a chance to tap into their networks. They don't become, a part of what you're trying to do. They're not advocating for you. They're not necessarily helping, any kinds of policies that would help us. So the other part of that is something that you said, I just lost it. Gosh. The conversation.
Oh, okay.
Conversation. But not only about the conversation, like we have to continue to have those conversations, but it's an authenticity that has to come with it, because the Black community does not play. Come with the authenticity, come with grace, and also if we're looking at, to your point, Charlie, hey pumpkin, to your point, that $1,000 gift will probably, a lot of times, so the average gift they say is about $60. People will give that one-time gift, or they'll give a gift of $60 during your annual fund, and that will last about 2 years. However, the folks that engage on $5 monthly giving, sustains your organization. The time is about 7 years. So let's do the math, and it always comes back to the numbers. If you look at the numbers and you look at that 11 billion, 1.6 trillion, and how much nonprofits need to run, we're really able to look at how this could be a real thing. And the fact that we didn't necessarily have access to that information prior is probably one of the reasons why we weren't able to do things like the Montgomery bus cot that lasted for a year, or we weren't able to pull a lot of that information. But now with technology and Google and YouTube and all these things, we have access. So really it comes down to, I want to say this right. We have been gaslit for hundreds of years. This is the moment where I figure out there is clarity. So moving forward, if we continue on this trajectory, we can't blame anybody but ourselves. And I don't think that's something that we're going to do. So I'm looking forward to what we do as individuals. I'm looking forward to how we affect the collective consciousness. I'm here for it. Any of the ideas that you see that we've come up with, please replicate it, do it, whatever. Just let us know, come back, and so we can figure out how what we do is going to help another organization or another person, another artist, and really be philanthropic activists. And the last thing I'm going to say, I think that's the last thing, is we have to go beyond what's right in front of our faces. We have to be intentional and do the work, read the reports, go to a Giving Gap, find organizations, tap in. Yeah, absolutely, Gio. I only got part of that because it disappeared. But yeah, I hope that we're able to share some of our resources with you. If there's anything that we can provide, please let us know. And we're all in this together, so please consider me a part of the family.
I'm loving it. Thank you so much, Jeri. I want to read a
Thank you,
few
Sierra.
comments just to raise them up in the room for people who can't see the comments.
Thank you.
In response to how we want to see the future, mentioned community ownership, governance, and control, which I love. Geo, responding to the connective tissue, honoring the socio-emotional fabrics of our African and other pre-colonial communities, combined with cooperative economic principles we are professing now. For me, living an Ubuntu-centered lifestyle, the goal isn't individual love, but community well-being, because we know we are connected with every breath we take. For example, I have no interest in a shopping mall, but rather a food justice forest.
That's beautiful.
Yes, yes, yes.
Y'all have really fed me tonight.
Oh,
I
you have
mean,
fed us, Jeri. Thank you so much. This
oh,
has
I've
been
enjoyed being
so
here. I just really have.
enriching and inspiring, and we're in the middle of putting together our own design team in effort of uh a campaign to fundraise for an endowment fund. And so we are hearing you has really just reminded me that we really can do whatever we want, that we really have space and freedom to really, yeah, be creative and fun and be ourselves.
Mhm.
I'm just really, really grateful for that reminder, because I've been just thinking a lot about this endowment campaign, and how we're going to approach it, and I don't want to just do what is out there, but I really
Mhm.
want to do what's authentic to who we are. And so this is
Ask your community. Your
yeah.
community is going to tell you, yeah, we don't want to get down like that. This is what we want to experience. Like, there's also something in our body that we want to experience something different. You know what I mean? We want to experience something, and something that's reflective of us. You know what I mean? Even like in generating some of the images and what we do, it's hard to see ourselves in these spaces because there are no images, there are no reflection. So the more that you guys tap in, the more that we can see ourselves doing something different. So I'm excited of I'm excited. And to our allies that are on this call, because I know that we have a few, we're gonna do this.
I love
Yes, we are.
We're gonna do it, or we're gonna die trying.
Absolutely.
I'll speak for myself. Mhm.
Nah,
No,
we are. We are
exactly.
going to do it. You're right.
Thank you so much.
All right, Sierra, I'll pass to you to close us out.
Yeah.
So Sierra, I gave you so through the Black Donors Project, we do a lot of report reading because we weren't able to aggregate a lot of this data prior to these last few years or a few decades. So please, if you get a chance to kind of go through, and they're really informative and really will shape how you see yourself engaging not only with your community, but with your allies, and kind of what our collective messaging will be. And they've done wonderful work. So, and I hope you join us for Black Proms.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jeri. And I'm gonna send out, if it's okay with you, Jeri, the deck, where folks can get more information about Black Prompts, and a follow-up email. We have sort of a homework section for folks in our last minute. Of course, we want to thank everybody for being here. I'm dropping in the chat if you're interested and feeling so empowered like I am by Jeri's talk and the endowment we plan to create together. Here's a one-pager for you in the chat. And then also for our next time together in February, we're asking that folks reflect on the question that we left the whole group with, about what would make it easier and exciting for you to be involved in our resource mobilizing efforts? What are some of the barriers that might stop you, and how can we sort of meet you where you're at? Um, thank you, thank you, thank you. And this last, we're about to go over time, but James, do you have any announcements for Ujima?
Um, I just want to invite you all to any of our upcoming events. Team, colleagues, peers, if y'all have anything y'all want to shout out that I'm just like forgetting about that's coming up that y'all should know about, please throw it in chat because I'm forgetting at the moment. But we have a lot of things coming up. So just love to see y'all participate and just build relationship with you all. And I think learning is a big part of like, how people can build, and also there's other spaces and other experiences that we offer throughout this ecosystem. And so just really want to invite you all. You guys are interested in learning who we are. I think there's other spaces to do that besides resourcing. And so just want to invite you all to do that. And I think, yeah, Natasha put in our events. So check out our events. And if anyone can put it in our newsletter sign up link too. We encourage y'all, if y'all want to stay in the loop of this meeting or just our just general work, if you're not already looped in, we'll add that in there so y'all can sign up too. But that's all I had to say. Again, thank you so much, Jeri. Thank you. And we'll definitely be in touch. We'll definitely be in touch. So
Thank you so much. Thank you for the energy that you bring to this space. I'm looking forward to connecting with all of you. And thank you, Roseanne, for coming, and Charlie and everyone. Thank you.
and bye everyone.
Thank you,
I hope you all
Jeri.
have a good
Bye-bye.
week.
Have a
Thank
good
you, Jeri. Bye. Yeah.